And you're back on R.age. Yeah?
Yes.
In our first segment, Paul-Henri, legendary F1 photographer, who's in town to cover the the Singapore F1 Grand Prix, talked about how his father, Bernard, also a legend in the field, got into the industry.
A collection of their work entitled Grand Prix, the F1 legend through photography, is on exhibition at the Cafe Gallery from the 20th of September to the 31st of October. Now that, you know, is at Dhoby Ghaut, so you just take the MRT, then at the Dhoby Ghaut.
That sounds like a game.
Yeah.
No, it does not sound like a game. But yeah,
Okay.
so all you have to do, and it contains 64 photos taken by the father and son.
Yep, and it's spanning the history from 1950s to present day. Now
Yep.
let's see more of the interview.
From Paul-Henri.
How would you describe your father's work ethic?
Now, he had a very amazing capacity to get close to people. I think he was a people lover, and he was very at ease, and so he did not feel any difference between him and other people. He was very sure of himself in that respect.
Would you say empathy? He had a lot of
He had a lot of empathy, yes, very much so. And so he soon became as close to race drivers as you could get. And he was so familiar with them that they didn't even pay any attention to him. So he was in an ideal position to photograph them. And he was always there.
Yeah.
So he took some amazing pictures in those years, in the 50s and the 60s, because he had that empathy, because he had that capacity to be close to them. This is an early photograph of my father because it's Monza 1954, and this is Stirling Moss. Stirling Moss was an extraordinary driver who never was world champion, and so this is like his brand, and he's very famous for that because he should have been world champion more than once. Such was his talent, and this sort of typifies the whole thing. He was leading the race, and 2 laps before the end, his car broke down. This is start-finish line in Monza. And he parks the car, and he's exhausted. It's been a 3-hour race. And my father is there. And so what does my father do? He gets a Coke bottle and hands it to Stirling, because he can see he needs some sort of comfort, and he's thirsty. And this is the picture, and it tells everything, you know, the distress of the man,
the frustration,
being exhausted, losing victory, wondering what it's all about. Why does this happen to me? What did I do to deserve this? But talk about empathy. This is empathy.
Yeah, of course.
This is an important part of photography, being at one, becoming your subject, yourself. So you forget yourself, and you become your subject. In his case, it's obvious when you look at his pictures of the relationship he had with people around him. His philosophy was always going ahead, marching forward, and going to the next step. As I said, he was courageous, and he did not have any real ambition, although he was quite successful in his life. But that was not his main thing. I think he just he was always projecting himself into the future. This one, blurry background. That's the one that's on the cover of the program. Now, what makes a beautiful picture? That was your question.
Yes.
It has to be the composition, the light, the background. I always say to people, watch your background, because people focus on the subject, and they forget that the subject is part of a greater whole, and that you're taking a picture not just of your subject, but your subject and the background. I say, watch your background. Pay attention.
It's sort of like a symbiotic, because they live off each other.
Exactly. Your subject and your background are part of each other. We're not just there out of nowhere. Like we're not just here. We're part of this room.
That's right.
This room is part of us right now.
That's the philosophy of photography.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it is.
Okay, so maybe you can tell me what goes into taking a good F1 photograph.
Good F1 photograph.
That's the most important thing, right?
Well, in F1, there's different aspects to it, but basically 2. One is taking pictures of race cars, and the other one is taking pictures of race drivers. Now, you have man and machine. Now, when you're photographing machines, I very much like to give a sense of speed because this is what it's all about. These are race machines and they go at great speed. And if you just take static pictures, it does not convey any sense of speed. So I do a lot of my work at slow shutter speeds, in which case you can blur the background. And if you have different patterns and colors, they become something like a painting almost.
Yeah.
And otherwise, you try to fix your car with a high shutter speed, say a 500th or an 800th of a second. Then again, the background is paramount. You want to have some blurry, soft, interesting background that puts your subject into perspective. And the light, of course, you always look for the light. Backlight is difficult, but always a plus, because it makes details come out on the surface of the car, which ordinarily you would not pay attention to. And then you have the race driver himself in his own surrounding, whether he's on the starting grid or in the garage or in the pit lane or something. You search for expression. Like this picture of Senna. You see this incredible look in his face. Totally lost into infinity.
Oh, yeah.
Incredible.
This is almost before the race itself.
This is actually on a Saturday. It's in practice, before practice. He's in the zone. It was a very strange moment. I was walking down the pit lane maybe an hour before qualifying, and I see Senna come and get into his car. And I don't know what he was doing. He had this thing about fiddling with his car. He was very precise and always wanted to have everything right, and he was very picky about details. It had to be right. And so there he is, and he's fiddling, and I'm alone. There's no other photographer. It's just him and me, basically. And I took a number of pictures, maybe 20. But this one was outstanding because of that look on his face. It is so unusual. Mika Hakkinen.
Yeah.
Giving that sideway look. Or Eddie Irvine with his incredible eye. I've always had a fascination with eyes. I love eyes.
You said windows into the soul, right?
Exactly. I would have said that, but you said it, so it's okay. And I'm waiting for the expression.
Yeah.
And then I go click.
You could have a sense of when it's coming, right?
Yes, yes, yeah. But again, that's back to empathy. Yeah. It's your capacity to identify with that other person, and then you know when his feeling is strong, when his expression is good, and he's showing it.
So experience and skill aside, don't you think it's a little bit of luck? Because you have mentioned it might be luck sometimes.
Luck is in everything in life. Luck is the cherry on the cake. It's something you create the right circumstances, and then if it's a good day, luck comes your way. But not always.
Yeah.
Sometimes luck is a plus, and it only happens if you make it happen. But it's an uncontrollable. It's like fate. It happens or it doesn't happen.
True. Abstract.
So here we have a very special picture. 1984 British Grand Prix, Brands Hatch. And the McLarens of Alain Prost and Niki Lauda are very, very dominant that year. And comes the Brands Hatch race. They're leading the race, and there's an accident. And the accident is pretty bad, so they do a red flag and stop the race. So these two guys went around the track and stopped on the grid. Now their lead was so great that they had the time to come to the grid, stop, get out of their cars, look at their cars, and this is the next car that's coming, because they had such a great lead. Now, I'm on the other side of the track, this side, because that's where I was since the beginning of the race, since the start. So I decide, well, it's a red flag. I'm going to cross the track and go back to the pits until something else happens. So I'm crossing the track, and from the corner of my eye, I see this scene, and I go, whoa. So I aim my 500, and I do cling, cling, and I have two shots.
And it's
the end of the film.
The roll is done.
Roll is done. And I went, wow, I hope it worked, and it did. I had one really amazing shot, because it looks like it was staged. It looks staged.
This is like a commercial,
It's like a commercial, absolutely. So this is like once in a lifetime I don't know. Now, is it luck?
It's luck, yep.
Is it? I don't know. I was right place, right time. I had 2 frames left. Now, that's luck.
Yeah, that is luck.
Yeah.
That's skill. That's skill too.
It's skill
I think it's
too,
skill,
maybe.
yeah.
A bit of both. Yeah, there's something very, I know, esoteric to luck. It brings you into other realms of philosophy, and it's a very strange concept, the concept of luck.
We could probably go on for like an hour or so talking
Easily.
about luck. Easily. Well, okay. But bringing it back to would you say F1 photography is your passion? And if it is your passion, what else do you do outside of your job that sort of like has like this emotional outlet? We can sort of get other emotions from.
Well, photography is my way of expressing my creativity.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I usually do it with Formula One cars, but I also do it in the fields or traveling or in different ways. So that's one thing. Apart from that, I love to read and think and write and try to understand the meaning of life. That's my passion. That's my real passion. Understanding the meaning of life.
So what do you think about that?
I want a DSLR. Someone out there, I want a DSLR.
You should call Canon.
Sponsors.
Okay, well, I enjoyed my conversation with Paul-Henri, and yeah, I hope you guys
I'll
did.
definitely go and check out the exhibition.
Yep.
It's pretty cool. Well, that was something that combined both the F1 and art at the same time, so we'll bring you more all the way to the end of the week for Formula One. That's us from R.age. See ya.
See ya.